This approach involves integrating cybersecurity and privacy measures from the onset, helping to fortify every layer of infrastructure, from smart transportation to energy grids, against potential threats. Addressing negative cyber risk implications of emerging technologies requires a multifaceted approach that involves strong encryption, regular security assessments, standardized protocols, user education, robust vendor partnerships, and continuous monitoring. The aim is to strike a balance between technological innovation and cybersecurity to create smart cities that are not only connected and efficient, but also secure and resilient. Emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, big data, and Internet of Things also play a pivotal role in smart city security. AI-driven algorithms can detect patterns, anomalies, and potential threats in real time, allowing for swift responses. Autonomous systems can monitor public spaces, detect unusual activities, and alert law enforcement. Additionally, predictive capabilities that leverage big data can enable cities to anticipate cyber attacks and adjust security protocols accordingly. As the digital tapestry of smart cities unfolds, maintaining a balance between technology, privacy, and quality of life is essential. Residents must trust that their personal data will not be misused while reaping the benefits of urban convenience. Governments need to store data within secure IT infrastructures that significantly decreases the likelihood of a privacy breach, restrict collection of personal information to a bare minimum, and retain data for the shortest time possible. If the cities of tomorrow embed security by design into their operations, security would be woven into the fabric of day-to-day lives, helping to build a safe, protected, and resilient ecosystem. As the sun sets on traditional urban landscapes, the dawn of secure and livable smart cities emerges, illuminating the path to a brighter, more connected world.
Samar Omar, cyber partner for the Middle East and North Africa for EY. I run the government and public sector as well as the infrastructure sector. And we're seeing a tremendous amount of investment going into the gigacities, things like Qiddiya, Neom, et cetera. Exciting times. But we're also seeing this urbanization, this desire to pull more population into more constrained physical locations and thereby putting stress on the cities. So this excitement brings about a lot of challenges. Just make sure which slide we're on. Yeah, brings about a lot of challenges. And those challenges are being tackled by technology. And our desire to leverage technology to enhance the lifestyle and the livability of our citizens, our residents, our visitors. But we also have to understand that brings about new attack vectors, new ways that our adversaries can take advantage. So let's start by talking about what goes into a smart city. I mean, today's modern cities are what they are, but smart cities will hyper-connect their environments. You'll have your traditional IT networks, which are already under a barrage of attacks and risks, now being integrated into the operation technologies. And for those of you who are not familiar with operation technologies, they are the systems that run our energy sector, they run our grids, they run basically health and safety and public services are run on these systems. So now these systems are now being connected to an IT, and they are also susceptible to the types of attacks that they were previously sectored off or sliced off from. You add to that the Internet of Things. Millions and millions and millions of smart devices being connected to capture the telemetry and information around what's going on in the environment so that it can basically feed back. All of these factors are what make up a smart city, a cognitive city. All of this data is meant to enhance the lives of the individuals that are living there. But at the same time, it opens up the door to how do we protect this data? Because data is now a currency. How do we make sure that data isn't misrepresented? The integrity, the availability of that data is there. How do we make sure the data that's relevant to individuals remains private? So these are all the type of challenges that we talk about when we talk about the flourishing and opportunities of smart cities and urbanization. An interesting number is that in 2021, the amount of people living in urbanized cities was 50%. So 50% of the globe's population as of 2021 were in urban areas. If we fast forward to 2050, that's expected to go up to 68%. So you can imagine now the need for technology to satisfy the needs of individuals, the need for technology to also be protected so that it isn't used to impact those individuals. Okay? So, emerging technologies. So, I think the big buzzword in the industry lately has been AI, but really AI is an enabling factor to many existing technologies who are now leveraging it. So artificial intelligence allows us to now use machine learning and these vast amounts of data to make better decisions, predictive decisions, to enhance the way we operate and live our lives. Now, when you start combining information, as we said earlier, by IT, OT, IoT coming in there, now the health sector and the mobility of a city and everything are talking to each other, we can react in near real time to situations. The video showed a bunch of use cases and about agriculture, about health, but to be honest with you, the art of the possible with this is exponential. And when we get this right, and we are looking to get it right as designers, as architects, as professionals, it's meant to improve the livability of our citizens, but also we also have to recognize that there are adversaries out there looking at AI much like we are, but they're looking to use it against us. They want to weaponize AI. So imagine you have your Internet of Things devices, all of them trying to be smarter, so they also are now onboarding and leveraging AI. The risk of that infrastructure then being weaponized to work against us, autonomous vehicles. Obviously, the dependency on public safety with an autonomous vehicle relies on the sensors and the information that it's getting. If somebody's able to affect the resilience of those systems or even the information that's coming in there, we move from the world of security into the world of safety. And this is why I think cybersecurity and secure by design is very important, because we've gone beyond the traditional cybersecurity and saying, okay, this has an impact on operations, this has an impact on financial. But we're now talking about the risk of catastrophic failure to a city if secure by design is not implemented and incorporated correctly. Another factor that's contributing to this, again, is our dependence on data. So 5G and whatever comes next is creating more opportunities for faster real-time information to be brought on board. But again, it allows the adversary to use that very same infrastructure, if not secured, to prevent access to those systems where life and death real-time information is needed. So essentially striking a balance between cybersecurity risks and the rapid deployment needs is something that we need to do. But the way that we do it is we consider secure by design. Now, what is security by design? Okay, essentially, I'll take this scenario today, and we're on day 3 in a coffin corner of a very important event where trillions of dollars of wealth management, investment in countries and infrastructure is there, but yet we're off to the corner. And that's how cybersecurity is treated, quite honestly. Cybersecurity tends to be a bolt-on reactive responsibility, even in today's environment. The challenge with that is that when you bring cybersecurity later into the phase, the adaptation or the acceptance by the community is negative because they see it as a hurdle, a disabler to rapid deployment, to innovation. But with secure by design, the whole concept is security should be discussed at the earliest levels and earliest stages of development of a concept. Whether it's a product or a service, security needs to be in the room at the beginning, at the middle, and at the end. And by doing that, it allows the designers of the smart cities and innovative solutions of tomorrow to leverage cybersecurity as an enabler, as a differentiator, to allow them to take calculated risk, understanding how they will manage the challenges to privacy, to data protection, and to everything else that goes into that. So again, the need is for more people to be in the room and more people to be in the discussion about how cybersecurity can enable this brighter, more interconnected future. So I'm just going to make sure I don't miss any points. So the power of collaboration. Now, one of the things that we find is, obviously we live in a competitive world and competition is healthy, but in the world of cybersecurity, we need to tear down walls, not build them up. So working as enterprises, as governments, as even potentially in some cases, traditional competitors, we need to shift the discussion into collaboration. So we've seen over the last 4 or 5 years, governments encouraging and in some cases mandating information sharing as it relates to cybersecurity incidents and telemetrics that could be useful. This is also essential. Threat intelligence being fed into these smart devices will either enable or disable a city to be able to behave the way we've designed it. So the more collaboration, the more information sharing, the better. Additionally, we need to make sure our governments are helping incorporate a secure by design philosophy in the new regulations and the regulations of tomorrow. It's nice to have people take these actions as a proactive, voluntary method, but the reality is that adoption becomes slower and it becomes very, very independent and personal. We need our regulations not to inhibit growth, but we need them to enable cybersecurity by design through regulation. And by doing that, and again, Saudi Arabia is a great example. We have a lot of regulation that's come into play since 2017, since the establishment of the National Cybersecurity Authority, and that's gone a long way in securing the government. This fly seems to be very adamant about disturbing me. But that regulation is only useful if the businesses understand it, if the businesses see how it's going to enable them to achieve their goals rather than prohibit them. So again, those conversations and that collaboration has to happen. We also need to look at what are the security controls and applying the right security controls at the right levels to ensure that we are, not overburdening an environment, such as a smart city, but at the same time, we're taking care of the essentials, the data privacy, the data protection, the zero trust architectures, et cetera. So the need for collaboration is clear. One thing that gets hyper risky with a hyper-connected environment is now you're not only looking at your own security. Your security becomes a part of a bigger equation or an ecosystem. Ecosystems upon ecosystems upon ecosystems are reliant on in a smart city environment. And if the cybersecurity culture is not one that is inherited by all, then you're only as strong as the weakest ecosystem that exists in your environment. Which means, much like a house of cards, if this hyper-connected world gets breached, it could take down many other sectors and many other businesses as a result. So this is another important aspect of understanding your supply chain, your third-party risks, expanding the perimeter of your cybersecurity. So we're seeing a lot of regulation in that area. We're seeing a lot of need for organizations to look at their supply chain and make sure that they're adopting a secure by design concept. Because if they're depending on the downstream technologies that are feeding them and they are weaker and they do not meet the standards, then that puts the project or the city at risk as a result of that. I think great examples are countries like Estonia, who have become known as a digital society, and more importantly, a secure digital society. And they've done that through exactly the points I've made. Proper regulation, weighted regulation, information sharing, incorporating security by design in all aspects of their government and recommending it downstream, and thereby creating frameworks that work to achieve a cybersecure environment and society. Okay? So I'll just close on a few points. Okay? Cybersecure by design is nothing new. If you're an engineer, the earlier you engage in requirements analysis, the more effective the final product will be. The issue is having the right people in that early conceptual phase with a cybersecurity, information security background participating in those discussions, the better the outcome will be. And by the way, cost implications, rapid deployment are actually accelerated because some of the risks have already been discussed and mitigated or discussed and accepted as part of a risk management culture, whereby when we launch a product, we know exactly what we're getting into, rather than having to react to the cybersecurity, as we mentioned earlier, and try to bolt it on for regulatory compliance or for whatever other purposes we're doing. The other thing is artificial intelligence is real. It's going to be more prevalent. And we need to encourage our enterprises and our governments to enact the proper regulations to ensure that it's used in an ethical manner. AI will change the world of cybersecurity. The ability to be able to be predictive and leverage the vast amounts of data which haven't been effectively used over the last decade as more and more security vendors pump more and more tools into our environments. But at the same time, the adversaries will use those same technologies and use that same capabilities of AI to find ways to breach and to circumvent our security. So we have to be aware of that. The increased visibility that hyperconnectivity will provide us, we have to understand that also means that attack surface has never been bigger and will continue to grow and grow and grow, and thus the need for a secure by design culture. And then last but not least, and we were just talking in the session before this, a cybersecure culture in a society is essential. We were talking about executive awareness because ultimately top-down leadership, if the executive has bought into a cybersecure culture, they're going to advocate that throughout their organization. But we need that same kind of concept, not only in our enterprises, we need it in our governments, we need it in our schools, we need it in K through 12. Because as digital citizens, we need to be contributors to a secure digital society. Okay, with that, that's the key points I wanted to cover today for Secure by Design. I'm happy to open it up for some questions. Thank you.
Where do you see quantum computing coming into this? Because I know that's going to be part of the challenge going forward. I said, where do you see quantum computing coming into this? I've spoken to some people from Microsoft who are looking at this, and they're saying that the encryption we're using today is going to be obsolete in a couple of years, and they don't know what is going to come next.
So you said it. I mean, the reality is that high compute capability is going to have to make us re-envision the way we look at cybersecurity, especially digital certifications, PKI. All of that's going to be obsolete in a few years. But then again, secure by design, we need to be designing the certifications for the future, leveraging quantum computing, so that the potential of that quantum computing is continuously changing the algorithm at the same pace that the technology is coming in. The solution's not there. This is actually something that we're looking at EY. We have a team that's focused around AI and quantum and looking about how we guide our clients to these, and addressing these challenges, but also looking at creating solutions to that. And that was one of the things that we talked about is how do we create the quantum PKI, quantum digital certificate of the future that continues to evolve as the compute power continues to go quantum and beyond. But again, quantum computing also means we're going to be able to process much more information than we've ever thought of. And again, that means the quality of life and the mobility and health systems and environmental systems and everything that we talk about in a smart city will be able to process so much more data than we've had before. But then that puts the pressure back on is my information, my private information being protected? Is that data, because it could be used again by adversaries in a negative way, is that information being protected? So again, very good question, and that is one of the challenges. Technology evolves. I tell my friends in cybersecurity, we're very fortunate, because I don't think we're going to be obsolete, because every time a new technology or a new trend comes in, you have to look at what is the security implication of that. And again, if you're thinking security in society, if you're thinking security as an engineer, if you're thinking security as a business person, then you're going to continue to adapt to the changing times. Any other questions?
Yeah, very informative and interesting. As you mentioned, sometimes it's challenging to appreciate this because many stakeholders would see this as a hindrance to the go live or meeting a KPI. Now, how do we make this come to be implemented? Is it through awareness? Is it through being enforced in a regulation? And who needs to own this? Is there enough awareness, and who needs to own implementing this? Is it municipalities? Is it the regulatory entities that would enforce such regulations?
So good question. Second was ownership, and then how do we get this done? To be honest with you, it's much like things in life. It's both the carrot and the stick. The stick is typically referred to as the regulation, the penalties, the corporate policies that put that in place. You know, if you don't do this, this happens. If you don't do this, you don't have this type of access. But the awareness works better. It's by taking, and that's why I mentioned even K through 12. There are programs currently around the world that are incorporating cybersecurity as early as K through 12, both because we want safe experiences online for our children and our future generations, but through that journey, it's also making them more and more aware as they enter university and the professional world on what implications that has on society beyond just online surfing. So I think awareness has a big part of it at all levels. So we need we can't have a one-size-fits-all mentality to awareness. Awareness at a regulatory level is different than awareness at a corporate level, is different than, you know, K through 12. So customized awareness, and again, we're seeing a lot of programs around this driven by both private industry and government entities. I think the ownership ultimately is everybody's responsibility. But most nations now have, and this shows the importance of cybersecurity, they have a national cybersecurity authority or equivalent in their environment, in their government ecosystem. And that entity is responsible for encouraging and implementing the right regulatory frameworks, the right incentives in place, as well as supporting and enabling the private industry to try to cover and do the same thing. So ownership, I think, is ultimately, we say in any security awareness program, it's everybody's responsibility, but on a governmental basis, there are government entities that are tasked with that, usually for cybersecurity. And then I think more carrot than stick, awareness, teach people what's in it for them when they think and leverage cybersecurity to achieve their goals early in the phase, so that they don't have to deal with the pitfalls, the penalties, the lost data, the lost financial, and potentially, and this is really why I'm passionate about Secure by Design, is the world of IT, OT, IoT integration means health and safety becomes at risk. When somebody can affect our water, our electricity, our mobility, that becomes dangerous for us beyond just dollars and cents and bits and bytes.
So my question is, if I am a regular citizen, right, that I use tools, apps, I go to these places everywhere where I have to input my data, what can I do if all these tools that I use are not secure by design, right? How can I protect my own data, you know, as much as I can right now and in the future?
Well, the first thing is to be aware, right? So what I mean by that is, you're a consumer, you're a resident, you're a citizen. So demand of the service provider that you're buying your application. Show me your certifications, show me your third-party risk assessments. You know, give me confidence that you've done the due diligence around cybersecurity and will continue to do so, so that I can trust your app. Keep in mind, our assets, our mobile and smart devices are going to be an extension, an artery into these smart cities. So that's why I say every citizen is responsible, because if you are onboarding a non-secure application and that somehow connects to the broader ecosystem of a smart city, you could infect other people, and you could fall victim if that network is affected, and it brings that, you know, risk to you. So again, it's demanding that the service providers, the product vendors, that anybody that you're leveraging services, products or services from, demonstrate that they have invested in cybersecurity and continue to invest in cybersecurity. Anything else? Okay, thank you for joining me this morning. Take care.